Happy Thursday, everyone. It's Thursday here. And welcome to a new live stream. I'm Ariel from Appfigures. If you know me, you know I'm going to be talking about ASO-related stuff. If you don't and you're new to this, hello. We'll start with the time-long tradition of tell me what's in your cup and where you're from. I'm always curious where people are from, and I would love to know. So I am drinking not Earl Grey tea this time because I ran out. I'm drinking Darjeeling tea, which is almost the same, just a little bit softer and kind of lighter, but still good. And I'm in New York City. So it's sunny outside. It's nice today. Tell me where you're from in the chat. Tell me what you're drinking. And we're going to talk screenshots in not a very long time from now. And let people time to shuffle in. Give people time to shuffle in. I'm going to mix a lot of words today. Be ready. And hopefully, unlike previous times, you can hear me and see me. And it's not going to be an issue. Ooh, a double espresso from London. That was me about 10 minutes ago. Double, too. Iced Americano in New Jersey. Oh, New Jersey, not too far. Just across, well, the other river. That river. Nice. Saudi Arabia. Oh, now we're talking. Now we're talking international. I love that. Tell us where you're from. Drop that in the chat. The chat should be open as long as you subscribe to the channel because you want to be subscribed to the channel, obviously. And I have a pretty cool topic today. I am pretty excited about this. I haven't talked about screenshots in what feels like a year plus, I want to say. And I reviewed my guide that I wrote, and it was, I think, 2 years ago. So definitely interesting. And I see more people shuffling in. Germany is in the house. Maybe another moment or so. And then we're going to get talking about screenshots. Ooh, Texas. All right. Got to represent locally. Is everyone in London today? What is happening? What is happening? Ooh, Czech Republic. We're spanning pretty much everything today. East to west. In Idaho. Talking about east to west. And a protein shake. I think that might be maybe the second time I see protein shake in the chat. But that's cool. Bring any drink. I think that's the idea. No waters today, though. I'm surprised. I have my own, somewhere over here. Hopefully this tea will suffice for the rest of today. Ooh, Australia. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. So, all right, maybe another few seconds, and then we're going to get started. We'll talk about screenshots, optimizing them, and turning them into downloads. Alrighty, I think it's time. People are in. Everyone is excited. Italy is in the house. India is in the house. More people from the UK. Great. And I moved my microphone closer, so hopefully I sound even better than I did before. You know how much audio matters to me if you've been here before. So let's kick this off. Let's get started. My name is Ariel from Appfigures, and I talk about App Store optimization all the time. If you've been to any of the last 7 live streams, you know that I like to talk about keywords. And keywords are really important because keyword optimization is really important because keyword optimization is how people find your app or game, whether it's on Google Play or on the App Store. But the real challenge is, so you got them to your App Store page or Google Play page, how do you make them also download the app? There isn't this inherent need. There's no direct correlation between whether people show up on your App Store page and them downloading it, unless you do more things to optimize. It's always about optimization with these things. And the reason is there's just so much stuff out there, and people don't know if what they're looking for will actually work. And so that's when screenshots come in. And I say screenshots not because they're the only thing on your App Store page, obviously, but they're the biggest and by far the thing that takes up the most attention and also delivers the most information in the shortest amount of time. And that's key for this. And that's why they're so important. So what I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be talking about that second side of App Store optimization, which is once you have someone on your page, how do you make sure that they're seeing what they're seeing and they're downloading and they're not just leaving and moving to another app in search results? And that will be done through optimizing screenshots. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I will try to bring them on screen and answer them as I do this. But this is a two-parter. So I'm going to be talking about what are best practices, what are you supposed to do, what are you not supposed to do for a very short amount of time, just so everyone has an idea of how I'm going to continue this. But the majority of this live stream is going to be about me looking at apps and looking at their screenshots that are currently live in the App Store or in Google Play and analyzing them. There are good ones. There are some interesting ones. There are ones to learn from. All of them are from people who submitted their App Store games before this over the last week. And I, just like last time, got a ton of submissions, so I can't do all of them as much as I would like to. Or this will take 4 hours, and I don't know if you want to stick around for 4 hours. So I picked 10 of those at random, and I sorted them alphabetically, and I'm going to go through them and try to analyze them as quickly as I can to give you an idea of things that if you're the owner of the app, you can actually go right now and update. And I'll also give you a framework for how to update them safely so you can't really hurt your chances anymore with making changes, because changes aren't always positive. And if they're not your apps, you can at least learn from them and maybe apply that to your app or your game or anything new you're working on. So that's my plan for today. Hopefully I'll be able to get through as many apps and games as possible. I say this every time, every month when I do this, and I think I can get through 3 to 5 apps. I picked 10 because I am a wishful thinker, and we'll see if we can get through any of them. But before we jump into analyzing apps, there's a guide that I wrote about a year, maybe 2 years ago. I just updated it earlier this week, and it talks about how to design good screenshots. And it doesn't really talk about the pixels, or it doesn't really talk about specific layouts or anything like that. It talks about the philosophy behind what is a good screenshot set. And if you haven't seen it, I'll bring it up on screen. And that's the guide. So I wrote this thinking if you are not sure what to do, and maybe you just took a few screenshots from your app and put them on the screen, this is a great way to understand what you can do with those screenshots to really drive action. That's what you really want to do. You want to drive action. So I go through the good, I go through the bad, I go through ideas, and I have a bunch of examples along the process. I also did more than 50 app teardowns. If you're familiar with those, you know that I also analyze screenshots in those. And that was a lot of fun. I did a bunch of those last year. I kind of transitioned to keyword teardowns, which you might be more familiar with because I've been doing a lot of those lately. But I'll be doing more of those app teardowns. And there's a whole library of them all the way up here. I'll drop a link to this in the description for later if you want to give it a try. But I analyzed there a bunch of popular app screenshots and highlighted what's good, what's bad. If they had a video, I highlighted that too. So this is a very quick and a very good read. And what I'm going to be talking about right now is kind of derived from this. So we're not going to stay with this for now because you have me. So I'm just going to talk about it. And again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat and let me know. But let's get started. So what is a good set of screenshots? Maybe I should start with what is a not good set of screenshots. A not good set of screenshots is a set of screenshots you just took directly from the app or from the game. And now I can explain why. So if you think about what the screenshots do, someone comes into your app, someone looks at everything on the page, and the first thing they see are the screenshots because they're big and usually colorful and usually deliver a lot of information very quickly, something people are looking for because no one wants to take the time to understand what the app does. They kind of imagine it should be done for them. So what happens is they look at the screenshots and they expect to immediately answer the question, is this the app I'm looking for? Or is this the game I'm looking for? Games and apps are slightly different. And I'll talk about that when we look at apps and games in just a little bit. But the overall thinking behind them is pretty much the same. People are looking for something. Is this the thing I'm looking for? If it is, download, especially today where almost everything is free or freemium in some sort of capacity. So downloading has very little friction. All you have to do is you have to convince. So your screenshots, what they have to do is they have to answer the question, and the answer has to be yes, and an immediate yes, not like watch maybe this video and read these 3 screenshots to know that this is a yes. This is a yes immediately, and this is why, or this is how. So the way you would do that is by 1, telling a story. 2, making sure that the first part of the story answers that question. But 3, also remember to use as many of those screenshots as you can to tell this story. So I'll explain what all this means in just a little bit, and we'll go through this as I analyze screenshots. But that's kind of the high level thinking. So screenshots should immediately tell me what the app does and answer the question of, is this the app for me? Now, if you received one of my email invites for this, you know that I also promised I'm going to tie this to keywords. And this is how it ties to keywords. When someone looks for a keyword, that's their intent. And when you know their intent, you know a part of their question, so you can answer it. You see what I did there? And that's really the beginning of what this is. One of the biggest challenges that I see, and one of the biggest mistakes that I see, and I'm sure we're going to see some of this today as well, is that some screenshots start in the middle of the story, that is. Meaning they don't really explain what the app does. They expect the user to know, maybe by reading the name, or by looking at the icon, or by reading the description, or by something, or by guessing. And that's a big mistake, because that's a really easy way to fumble a good screenshot set. So tell a story, start with what the app does and really what it does for that user, and make sure that you tell the story very well with as many screenshots as possible. Very high level. I'm going to get into details in just a little bit, but that's kind of the framework that I'm going to be working with as I analyze this. Now, when I asked people to submit their apps, I also asked them a few questions about whether they're doing ASO, whether they're changing their screenshots, and whether they're testing their screenshots. And I asked whether they're testing their screenshots because, as I promised before, there's a safe way to test screenshots, and that's through A/B testing. Google has had A/B testing for quite a long time. I wrote a tutorial for how to A/B test screenshots with Google Play, I think 2 years ago or so. I'll also link to that in the description below in case you want to see it. But Apple recently started offering that, and that's an amazing, amazing gift. I call that a gift because I've been A/B testing outside of the App Store for years, and having the ability to do it in the App Store, especially when it's free, is just amazing. There's really no reason not to do it. And I actually published a guide about how to do that as well earlier this week, which I will link to. But all those together really work to give you a very simple framework to 1, optimize your screenshots, 2, make sure you're testing them properly so you know if they're working or not, but 3, also do it safely so you're not hurting your downloads. And all those together will definitely help you get more downloads. I know because I've seen it. I've talked to experts who do it, and I've talked to experts who do it for really big companies. If you follow our AF chats, I spoke to someone from Mobrist, Gilad from Mobrist, a few months ago, who gave us amazing examples of how A/B testing works at Google. And so if Google's doing this, you know you should be doing this, especially because it's so easy to get started. And it's such a good process to have as you do things. So all those together stitch to having more downloads. And you want more downloads, I hope. So if you want more downloads, you're here, obviously. So let's get to it and start talking about apps that you submitted. Again, now I picked all of these at random from a very large list. If I missed your app and you submitted, you want me to take a look, drop your app link in the comments later after I'm done, and I'll go through and take a look. I know last time when I did a keyword teardown, or I did an app keyword teardown, I got a ton of emails from people who were saying my app was on the screen, but you didn't get to see it. All those, if I haven't gotten back to you, I will get back to you. So feel free to suggest your app as well in the comments later. But I have an interesting one for you today. So what I did today, instead of just opening a whole bunch of tabs, if you've seen this before, you'll see it now, is I loaded up all the apps that I selected random into Explorer. And this is just a very easy way for me to get a handle on this. If you don't know what Explorer is, it's a search engine for apps that we made. It's a pretty amazing tool. I use this all the time to find apps, to make sure no one is using the Appfigures name for any weird purposes, but also to understand the sizes of different categories, to get who's doing what. It's a pretty amazing tool. If you don't know what it is, I'll drop a link to it in the description so you can check it out later. I'll also drop a link for setting up a demo with our team if you want us to show you how this works, and it has a whole bunch of use cases. So I can talk about Explorer for hours. We're not going to do that right now because I really want to get to this. So what I did was I picked 10 apps at random from a list of everyone who submitted an app or a game, App Store or Google Play, and you can see I have a bunch of both. And then I sorted them by name just so it's as simple as possible. And we're going to start looking at screenshots. So the first app that is up for analysis is BuyTube, Shop Influencer Merch. There are a lot of words in there, and I think that's a very interesting one. So we have a few screenshots here. You can see the screenshots right in Explore, and you can see the screenshots for iPad versus iPhone. Let's see if I can do this. Let's do an even better thing. Let's open it right in the App Store so you can see it as big as possible, what it looks like. Nope, we don't open it in the App Store. We want to open it here. App Store Preview is a great tool when you need it. Let's wait for it to load. Take all the time you need. And then I looked at some of these before. I didn't do a very thorough look into these before. I wanted you to see how I do this live in real time. So let's load all the images. Not that many to begin with. So we already know right off the bat there aren't enough screenshots. There are only 5 in this set out of 10. So there are 5 opportunities missing for this particular app. But let's see what this is. So I'm looking at the screenshot and it says YouTubers, and I have no idea what I'm looking at here. I can kind of guess based on the name of the app, but one, that's a stretch. You know what they say about assuming. You don't want to have the user assume. You don't want to have the user guess, which is one of the rules that you'll find in the guide. So step number 1 is I'm logging into this. I have no idea what I'm looking at. What is going on? Maybe I'm guessing that you can buy merchandise that celebrities use, that YouTubers use. Maybe you can get this mug. You can't actually get this mug on this app. But if you want this mug, there is a way to get it. I'll mention that at the end of the video. But maybe that's what it is. So here, the first thing that I see right off the bat is I have no idea what's going on. So if I found this through any sort of keyword optimization, through organic app store optimization, and I wasn't led into this by an ad that may have explained what it is, and I may have decided that I want this, this is not going to sell me on it. The colors here are nice. The tilted iPhones are nice. The kind of panorama type shot. All that is nice, other than it feeling a little bit empty. But I have no idea what this does. So what I would do here is I would use the first screenshot to really just say what this app is going to give you, the user, me, the user. What is this app going to give me? Can I buy stuff off of this app? Do I just get to see what celebrities use? Do I get to see what influencers use? I don't really care that I can log in with Google. I don't really know how that is a feature even, or a benefit. That's a feature that I wouldn't put on a list. So all this is very interesting. If the maker of this app is in the audience, I would love to know what the thought process was behind this. Why highlighting these specific things like Google, login with Google and YouTube, and if there was any sort of testing done to know that this works. Because otherwise, I would just try to start over. And I don't mean to be mean, but I think that this is lacking. It's lacking a story. Nothing coherent between these. There's nothing that evolves. But 2, I have no idea what the app does. So step number 1 is define what the app does right in that first screenshot. And hopefully we'll see more apps that do this so we can use those as examples. But to me, this is bad because it doesn't really give any reason to download the app unless I know exactly what it does and I'm sold on it. And if that's the case, even no screenshots would do, so don't waste your time if you're not looking for organic traffic. And that might be the case for some apps. I think this is a pretty interesting niche market, and depends how you do your keyword optimization. It can either go really wrong because you're targeting specific features that people don't know they need, or you are targeting very broad features like influencers or merchandise or, I don't know, I can't think about anything at the moment, but you get the idea, hopefully. So if you are getting organic traffic, then you would want to tell a story. If you're not getting organic traffic, then maybe you're selling somewhere else. I think that's never a good way to think about it. And so that's really what I would do. I would start over thinking, what is this app doing? What sort of benefit does it give to people? You know, okay, let's think about this for like another second, because I'm starting to see what, if I understand this correctly, what it does. If you're thinking about an app that sells celebrity merchandise, and let's say that's what this app does. I'm not sure that's the case, but let's just say that's what it does. I would start with the benefit of, what is the benefit to me? The benefit to me is I can wear what an Instagram model wears, or I can use a perfume or anything that I can see on Instagram, I can have. That's amazing. That's the value proposition. That's the benefit. That's where I would go with this. So that's pretty much all I have for this keyword, for this screenshot set. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one on this list is this, DoodleMaths. Ooh, interesting. Again, I looked at some of these before, not all of these before, so I'm not too familiar with them. I'm going to have to familiarize myself with them in real time, and I can already see pretty much the same issue that we saw in the first one. This does a slightly better job, but also not ideal. So let's bring up this entire set in the store and see what it looks like. And we'll cancel again. Maybe we'll just stick to Explore for the next one. Don't have to cancel and wait. But I guess we'll wait for this one. There we go. So, okay, we're seeing more screenshots on this one. And I really like the colors here, and I really like the composition. It's pretty simple. It's pretty kid-friendly, which I think this is what it's for. Or it feels like it's for kids, which means parents are going to be really excited by this. But I do see the same exact issue that we saw in the first one. So individual learning programs, I kind of understand this a little bit better than I understood what the app before did, but this is not 100% clear. And remember, we want to make it as clear as possible, as quickly as possible, what this app does, why I need it, what's the benefit. So what's the benefit of a math teaching what looks like a game for kids? And if I saw correctly, yep, it looks like it's for a whole range of ages. What's the benefit here? The benefit is not that there's an individual learning program. I think that's a feature. That's not a benefit. And that's a feature that's maybe sexy if you are looking for something very specific again. But really the benefit here is that you're going to have a smarter child. Your child is going to play with a phone and become smarter. And that's what you really want as a parent. Every parent wants smarter kids. So that's what I would highlight. And again, we're trying to make the decision of, is this app for me? Yes, no. Trying to lean it more towards the yes and as quickly as possible. And when I say more towards, I mean like 100% towards yes and very fast. So that's, again, what we're seeing here. If I know what this app does, and I know and I imagine to myself this is a math game for kids, maybe my third question is going to be, but wait, does it have individual learning programs? And the answer could be maybe. I don't know if that's even a selling proposition, but that's what I would be looking at maybe later down the road. So as I continue to tell my story, I would look at it. I do like the colors, though. There's another thing that I see here that I see happening a little bit too often. I think there's another game later on that we'll look at that does this if we get to it. But these captions are really little. So they may not look little on the screen right now because this is super zoomed in and this is on a website and not on a phone. But if you think about an iPhone SE, for example, this on an iPhone SE is a little bit different. And so if you are using the captions to sell and you're not using the actual image from the device to sell, and you should be, because in, I would say 80 to 90% of cases, that's a lot easier. You want those captions to be as clear as possible and as very easy to see as possible. So I would try to experiment with this. Now, I talked about A/B testing before, and in some cases, it is possible that these types of captions are actually better. Maybe because the way you advertise, maybe because of the keywords you use, maybe because of the audience. They're looking for something very specific and they know who you are, or they know what the app does and they have one kind of goal in mind. I want to get this for my kids so they become smarter. And then this would work. So for that, you would need A/B testing. A/B testing, in case you're not familiar, this is the quick gist, is Apple will take 1 or 2 additional sets, up to 3 additional sets of screenshots, and show them to a part of the people who come and look at this game. And they will then tell you which group of screenshots, which set of screenshots converted better, meaning turned more users, more views into downloads, and then you can pick the best one. So everything I say today, if I give you advice to try something, I would only try it as an A/B test. I would never try it as a total replacement. And hopefully it works. And you get more downloads and you're happier. And your kids are smarter along the process if you have any kids. So in any case, that's kind of what I see here. And again, I really like these colors and I like the composition. There's one thing that I would also suggest here, and I don't know how much this would work, and really depends on the app, really depends. And again, something I would A/B test, but when you want to create sort of an emotional connection, which is kind of what you would want to do here, because it's a game for kids, you can use people to do that. You don't have to use actual people. These can be drawings of people, illustrations, it can be figure-like people. And I saw this robot and it made me think about it. But using things that are more friendly to us, which are humans or people, actually gets people to download more or to convert better. So that's something I would try here. That's something I would kind of try in really any screenshot set. So not specifically for games, not specifically for kids, but in general, so that you can get an idea, so you can really make that connection. And that connection could be good in order to get the download and get it faster even. So definitely something to try out. I also wrote a guide with 16 A/B test ideas in case everything I say today does not apply to your app for some reason or game. And you can try that, and adding humans into the process, into the screenshots, is one of them. It's a pretty good one. In almost every event, AF Chat or interview or anything else that I've talked to developers about this, those who tried always had better success. And so I think it's a pretty useful tool if you want to do that. Just keep the colors. I like this a lot. Well done. Okay. So let's move on. Next one is Google Play. Hello, Google Play. A lot of you email me and ask me why I don't do more Google Play stuff. And there is more Google Play stuff coming, obviously. So stay tuned. Okay, so this is a game. And games that are pure games, like this one, are very, very, very different, because games don't really sell you on a feature. They don't sell you on a benefit. Games are something you use to kind of make time go by faster. So what you're selling with a game is you're selling an experience, the whole thing. If you think about it from a more specific technical perspective, you're zooming out. You're not looking at a specific behavior. You're not looking at a specific feature or benefit or anything like that. You're looking at the whole thing. Am I going to have fun when I play this game? And you want that answer to be a yes, of course. So this game starts with a video. That's already a good start. Instead of playing the video, this is a thing about screenshots. So let's talk screenshots and let's take a look. And let's see what this does. I'm going to zoom in as much as I can. And I can build my arcade. Okay, cool. I mean, so this is simple. This is easy. This is a game which is very different than an app, obviously. But I can build my own arcade. That's what I want. If I looked for arcade in Google Play, or I looked for build arcade or play arcade or arcade game, and I come across this, that really ends up saying to me, yes, this game is for me. This is probably what I want. Now, build your arcade sounds a little complicated to me, and if I'm not looking for something to spend a lot of time on, I may now think, okay, but what does that mean, build your arcade? So let's see what else is here. Unique locations, okay. I'm going to have fun, I guess. Many challenges and flexibility, much flexibility. Awesome storylines. Not exactly sure what that is. Game over. Game over. Collect characters. Okay, I think that's a little bit nicer. Upgrade games. Okay, now we're talking. Why are these all the way at the end? Earn rewards. I think this should be screenshot number 3, or maybe even number 2 on this list, because that's what I want. And now we're looking at tablet, because this is Google Play and they shove them all together. So overall, this is actually pretty good for a game. This is giving me a great idea of what the experience is going to be like. It's using all the art directly from the game. This is something games have been doing for a long time. Games are great with captions when they do it right, of course, because the captions really make sense. And overall, this is, in my opinion, a very good set of screenshots. And if the maker is in the crowd, well done. That's me clapping. I think that's a really good one. One thing that I would experiment with is the order of these screenshots, because I think the story can be told a little in a way that's a little bit more efficient. Rewards are something that obviously everyone wants, even if they don't think about wanting them. So they may not look for that when they do their keywords, when they type in their keywords. But if you show it to them, I think they might like it. And so what I would do is, and Google Play will allow you to do this fairly easily, A/B test resorting these screenshots. Leave them as is. I like the colors. I like the captions. I think everything about this works. But try to tell the story a little bit differently. Just keep the first one the first one. I really like everything about this. Well done. And before we go into the next app, I see some stuff happening in the chat, and I haven't looked at the chat in a while. So let's take a look at the chat and see what's happening here. Chat. Okay, there is a lot going on. Okay, so let me bring up this on a screen. And there's a question. When you have an app for kids, should you tailor your screenshots for kids or parents, or is it a mix? If so, how should you prioritize the benefits for kids versus parents who are actually paying? That's a good question, and I have looked at a lot of games for kids over the last few years, and I have to say I've seen everything. I've seen games that tailor for parents. I've seen games that tailor for kids, and I think in many instances, the right thing to do is to optimize for parents. It might be a little bit easier to optimize for kids because you can just say, well, if they just say, I want this, I want this, I want this, the parents will give up and just give them what they want. But really, if you're thinking about who's going to eventually pay you for a subscription, that has to be the parent. So you want to tell the parent that this will give them what they want, which is not always what the kid wants. But it's also easier to optimize for adults than it is for kids because adults think a different way, and I think it's easier to kind of guess how adults think. So I would do that. If you believe that there is a way for you to optimize directly for kids in a way that's fair and makes sense, I would A/B test that and see if that converts better. But one of the things that people don't actually think about when they do this is that if you, as you start A/B testing and as you start testing these, all the A/B testing frameworks out there, whether it's Google or Apple or third party, they usually optimize for or only give you information about your conversion rate from a view to a download. And obviously, that's the only way to measure A/B tests, and that's really what you're trying to optimize for. But there is, especially if your app is not a paid app, which is the case now for most apps, you want to make sure that you're not losing money. Making more money obviously is great because hopefully more downloads means more money, but you want to make sure that you're not doing anything that is now changing the audience that you're bringing in, and it's either not working with your paywall or your onboarding, or it's just the kind of user who wouldn't pay. And so if you are A/B testing, you should always make sure that you're watching your revenue. So in this particular case, you could try optimizing for kids, you could try optimizing for parents, and you could try a mix. All those are possible in a single A/B test, both on the App Store and on Google Play. But make sure that in addition to looking at your conversion rates, you're also looking at revenue. And you can look at revenue and downloads and page views on Appfigures if you just load up the report and overlay all these metrics. So that's what I would do. That would be my view, my one view that I care about, because ultimately, regardless of which one is winning on conversion rate, your revenue has to either stay the same or go up. It can't go down. So that's a really, really, really important one. Let's see what else we have in the chat. Ooh, interesting. So a question from Leonardo. What do you think about screenshot sequencing? Do you think that having a screenshot flow is worth it, considering that they are not easily interchangeable? Good question. So again, something I would definitely A/B test, but to me, a screenshot set is a set, meaning it tells a story. It has to. They can't be just individual screenshots. And we'll continue to take a look at apps in a second, and you'll see that when they are individual screenshots, they just don't feel as good. And this has nothing to do with algorithms anymore, has nothing to do with keywords or indexing or anything like that. This is just people. And people work off of emotions more so than logic. And so if something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, you want to make sure that you get it to look right and feel right. And that's what I would do. So screenshot flow where all the screenshots are combined together and maybe the phones are tilted or the graphics are cut between. That's one element of it. But as long as you're telling a story, so if your story is best told with these sort of continuation elements, great. If it doesn't exactly require it, but you can still stitch together a story through captions without having that, so you can easily toggle between them or resort them, that also works. A/B test. A/B test both. That would be my way of doing this, or my best suggestion for this. A follow-up from Leonardo. How would you prioritize awards and seals? Example, kid safe in your screenshots. Show them right at the first one. Yes, absolutely. Social proof. Awards are social proof. Anything that shows that this app is to be trusted, this game is to be trusted, that's good. And you want that. Now, you want that, but you want that in a way that doesn't take up the entire screenshot, because again, that doesn't really sell the screenshot or doesn't really sell the app. What it does is it makes it easier for the user to download it. So it's a secondary action. It's not a primary action. So your first screenshot should definitely define what the app does and turn the is this app for me or is this game for me into a yes. It can use seals and awards for that, but I would make them small and I would make sure that they're not the primary thing on the page, just to make sure that people do answer that question with a yes first. And if they need additional just validation is the right word here, then they use those. So that would be how I do it. Now, let's get back to analyzing, because I can see that time is not something we have. So let's get out of this one. We looked at MyArcade. Next. Okay, so we did a game. Let's do an OCR scanner. And those of you who follow my This Week in Apps know that I have talked about scanners more than once over the last few months. It's a very lucrative industry. There's a lot of money getting thrown into scanners. And if you think about it, it makes a ton of sense. It's a business tool. And when you have a business need, you're not going to think twice about spending a few bucks on it, unless it's incredibly expensive, and then you might have to think about it. So the need here, the benefit, the uplift of optimizing your screenshots could mean a ton of money, especially in this industry where stuff is a lot more. Is this for me? Yes, money. Is this for me? No, no money. Very, very straightforward. And here you really want to invest into optimizing screenshots. So let's see what's happening here. This green is hurting my eyes, but other than that, I think it does an okay job. Create searchable PDF from camera. Does not sound grammatically correct, but I don't think that matters. It gives me what I want to know. I can make PDFs from a camera, from my phone, and if I don't make the connection of what does it look like to make a PDF from a camera. Because when I think camera, I think of it like an old DSLR camera or a video camera like the one I'm shooting on. I'm not necessarily thinking about my phone. And that's where the screenshot or the visual comes in, and it's literally a phone, and it's literally using the app to take a photo, a picture of a document, and it highlights it. And I've used apps like this before, so I know how it works. But even if you don't, this is really intuitive. So from a question and an answer type situation, this answers the question. Is this the app for me? And if I look for anything that has to do with OCR or PDF or scanner, the answer is absolutely. I think this design could get a nice polish, and that's a whole different thing. And we'll talk about this in a second because it is important. But ultimately, this works. It's not as pretty as some of the screenshots that we've seen before from a design perspective, but from an answering question perspective, this is what I want. And then we can continue. So let's see. So it's got a scanner, OCR, PDF editing, and cloud upload. Not just a bunch of features, but in this case, this app is really all features. It's less benefits. It's all features. And that's what's great about looking at a bunch of different screenshots for different apps is not the same. The same rules apply all the time, but what a benefit and a feature is gets to be a little bit different. So you really have to know your own app and you have to know your own audience, which is the same as I say for keywords in general. So scanner plus OCR, PDF editing, cool. That's useful. Powerful text recognition OCR. Also good. Apply filters on images. Also good. Reorder pages. So you see, all of these are things that if I'm scanning And I've used these sort of scanners before. All these are features I want. Maybe not filters. I don't know about that. But I definitely want to reorder pages. I definitely want OCR on them. And now we're looking at many options. Maybe that's where things get a little bit vague, because I'm not going to read all this text. There's just too much going on. Automatic file naming, I never really cared about that as much. Default save location, these are more power features. And something about the way the indentation here works is really driving me insane. Why is this like this? This is straight, this isn't, this is not at all. What are these 3 dots for? Is this a menu that's supposed to happen when I click, but I can't click? The padding here. So from a design perspective, I don't love this. I'm not going to lie. And again, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to tell you what people who are looking at these on the App Store in general, what is going on in their heads. They may not verbalize it, but that's what's going on. So I don't love the way it looks, but I do read it. The words are large enough. The text is clear enough. There's enough contrast here. All of these are good. The font could be different. The spacing could be different. What we see specifically in these towards the end screenshots could be a little bit different, but nothing here is turning me off. If I need a scanner and this was my first result, my first match, I'm probably going to download this and at least try it out. If I hate it, or if it doesn't look good, if it doesn't feel good, I may not continue using it, or I may not pay it, but that's a whole other thing. And I can export. Oh, I would definitely move this export before smart file name again. So overall, we've seen really great looking screenshots like the one we saw before that I love the colors of, the math game, but it didn't do as good a job as this, which I don't think looks as good, but does exactly what it's supposed to do for a business tool. So if this, I believe that if this gets a nice coat of polish, it would do probably twice as better, or maybe even 10x as good, but it's already doing pretty well would be my guess if there's enough traffic to this page. So a valuable lesson. It's really about how you present your app, less so about the visual, in my opinion, and more so about the story you're telling behind it and the questions you're answering. Now, keep in mind that if a competitor comes along and copies these screenshots one for one and makes just visual changes, cosmetic changes, theirs might get even more of a conversion rate, like a higher conversion rate, because it just feels a little bit better. And a lot of this is feeling. So if you have competitors that are doing the same thing, you probably want to take this to the designer and redo this. But you have what it takes. The foundation here is actually awesome. So I like these. Well done. And we are cruising. We are on to number 5. And we still have a few moments to go. So this is great. I've neglected some of the questions in chat. I'm going to try to get to them right after this app. So next up, we have PicMarker, Mosaic and Annotation. Off of the name alone, I can't say I understand what is happening here. So let's take a look at screenshots. Various mosaic styles to protect your privacy. So you see, this is a very interesting one. I get what's going on, but I had to think about it. I don't really know why. So this feels like maybe a third screenshot to me, or a second screenshot at best, but not first, because I have no idea what this app does. Is this app helping me protect my privacy? Is this app for me to annotate my screenshots that I take? Is this app for both? Do I need this app? What am I even looking for to get here? If I'm looking for annotations, which is something I have looked for because I annotate a lot of stuff before I share it on Twitter, for example, this would not answer my question. I looked for annotations. I found mosaic styles. I don't really care about those. So for me, this would be a no-go. I would probably hit the back button and try again and continue to an app that just highlights annotations, because if I'm looking for annotations, I'm looking for circles and arrows and other things, and this answers none of the above, none in the first screenshot, at least. So let's go into Google Play and see if it does, if there's anything else going on that we can latch on to here. So various mosaic styles, we already said was not great. A variety of image annotation features. Okay, now we're talking. I'll continue before I continue to critique this. Add text and emoji or stickers anywhere you want. Okay, I like stickers. I like emoji. Crop your pictures in multiple scales. Okay, interesting feature. That's it. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 screenshots. Okay, so a whole bunch of issues here that I see. And again, I'm not trying to be mean when I say this. I'm just trying to tell you, I'm trying to think about how people would perceive this, and they may not be able to say it, but that's how they think, and that's how they develop this emotion of whether they're going to download it or not. All this happens really quickly. So if you get one of these wrong, you may just lose a download, and you don't want to do that, especially if you're working on App Store optimization and you're testing keywords and you're trying tests and you're doing all these things. It's even much worse if you're paying for ads and that money is just not getting you're not extracting the most out of it. So let's start in the beginning. We talked about how this first screenshot doesn't really give me much. So I don't know that this is an app about annotations. I may have read the name. Maybe it made sense in my head. Maybe I ignored it. So I'm not going to go looking for how do I annotate, especially when other apps do it so much more quickly. And so this is mistake number one. Mistake number two that I see here is this is an app about graphics, right? This is an app that gives you things to put on your pictures, on your images, on your screenshots, on really anything. Use up as many screenshots as you can and like show all the different options and make them amazing. I don't know what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at a very boring picture, and the very boring picture has very boring annotations. Why would I care about this? If you spend an hour thinking about the most amazing picture that you've ever annotated, that is what should go in here, and that should be the first screenshot. I, as a user, should be looking at this and saying, wow, I can do this with that? Of course I want it. All my followers on Twitter will think I'm an artist or whatever. So that's the second mistake here. The third mistake that I'm seeing here, there's a lot of cool stuff, adding emojis, stickers, but there aren't really all that many screenshots to continue show them. So maybe that's 2.5 or 1.5. But show off all the features. There's really no reason not to. And make sure that you tie them to benefits. Why would I want to crop my picture? What's the benefit of cropping my picture? And also use better pictures. What's the benefit? That's the benefit I want. So I want to get something done, and cropping is the solution. Tell me what I want to get done. Tell me that this app can do it, and it can do it by cropping. It can do it by really anything else. Here, I'm not just annotating my picture. I'm not just putting emojis on my pictures. I'm bringing my pictures to life. Really, when you think about it, I'm making my pictures more exciting. That's what sells. That's what I want. I want to either make my pictures more private. Obviously, I don't know how big of a use case that is, that it's now the number one screenshot. But let's just say that this was screenshot number 3. That's good because I'm protecting my privacy. I'm not pixelating private information. So this screenshot gets it. It's just in the wrong place. These screenshots don't. So that's what I see when I look at this. Hopefully all this makes any sense. I'm trying to go through these as quickly as possible so we can get through more than 5, which has been my top so far. So we're going to go to number 6. And I'm going to get the questions in a second. I know I promised I'll get the questions now, but let's just do one more and then we'll be good. Oh, this is actually a good one. Okay, so we're going to get to 6. This is the first time I'm doing 6 apps in one live stream with time to go. So ShopSavvy, a barcode scanner. Now, to begin with, I don't know why I need a barcode scanner. So it's possible that what I'm going to say now will sound a little bit weird to people who know why they need a barcode scanner. But if you think about this from a user standpoint, most users are not going to know exactly why they need what they need unless they have a very specific use case. And a barcode scanner, in my opinion, is generic enough for that to get lost. So with that in mind, let's jump in. Screenshot number 1, scan barcodes. Okay. And then I see UPC, EAN, QR, plus more. Now, here's the thing. I used to do retail way back in the day. And in retail software, all these make sense, these different types of barcodes. But do they really make sense to the majority of people who will be on Google Play looking for a barcode scanner? I don't think so. I think if you're talking to an inventory manager, maybe. And even in that case, I can tell you most inventory managers don't speak this language. They just know if it works or if it doesn't. So if I'm looking for a barcode scanner and I see this, this is not turning me off. So I'm not going to go away because it answers kind of my question. Is this going to scan barcodes? And the answer is yes. But it doesn't tell me why. What's going to happen when I scan the barcode? Because if all I need is something to take pictures of barcodes, I have a camera, as we have established before, that can do these sort of things. I have a phone that has a camera and it can do it. So let's continue. Nearby stores. So, okay, this is a very interesting screenshot set. I'm glad we got to number 6. So this is really cool. What we're saying here is that you can compare prices by just scanning an item. So if you're in your kitchen and you ran out of something, you can take a picture of its barcode and it will tell you where to get it the cheapest. And maybe for some items like oil, it's not going to be very important, but maybe for some bigger items, it will be very important. This is cool. Now, I assumed all of this from the screenshot. Nothing on the screenshot really makes it easy for me to see. Sure, if I read all the way to the bottom and I read what looks like the fine print, I'm going to know this, but I'm not going to do that. Ultimately, no one's going to do that, especially when there's just so much on the screen. Look at all these numbers. So we got a lot of text. No one's going to read this. A lot of numbers and a lot of things here. This is a very busy screenshot. So this screenshot from a design perspective does not make me want to read anything, but from a value perspective, has some value. So I would use this opportunity to rethink the first screenshot. Let's go back to the first screenshot. So I looked for a barcode scanner and I found this. I don't need a barcode scanner. I either need a way to find cheaper prices, a way to find if stuff is in stock. And that's what the first screenshot should be in this case. Price alerts. Yeah, I could use this. So that should be in the first screenshots. All these things should be in the first screenshots. And now we're just continuing to talk about pricing. But the thing is, you might be thinking, well, I'll start at the high level and just throw all the info on the user and then eventually let them read the rest. They're not going to read the rest. They're not going to scroll through if the first ones are not easy enough. And so there's this metaphor that I learned when learning to do copywriting, and that is if you've ever done any sort of skydiving, jumping off of a plane, you know that as you land, you see things that are very vague. You see shapes, you see colors, you don't really see details. And as you continue to decide, you see more and more and more detail, but you see less land, more focused. That's how your screenshot should be, just how your text should be. Start at the high level, give the big image, and then continue the big picture, and then all the way down. And this does kind of the opposite, I want to say. Ooh, saving. Okay, so this app will save me money. That should be number one. I don't need a barcode scanner. I need an app to save me money. And hopefully you're seeing where I'm going with this, but that's kind of the direction. Now, if you read this, this screenshot, I think, should be deleted, if you ask me, because I just found this cheaper at some other stores. Will you match one of these lower prices? I don't think most people are going to say something like this, and the ones who do probably know about this. So I would either move this screenshot to the end, because this does not necessitate me getting a lower price. This means I have a tool to prove that there's a price lower somewhere else, and the store may or may not accept this. So this is kind of vague and hokey. I would move this to the end even if I keep it. And in general, I see the same sort of aspect happening here. Again, there's a lot of information. I don't exactly know what's going on, but it's all here. So if this was reorganized in some way, I think it could do a much better job. Now, I've looked at this app before, and there's one thing this app does that I've not seen many apps do, or almost any apps do, that I kind of like. We'll get to it in a second, but again, a lot of information. Am I seeing multiple news sites? Am I seeing just one that's, I don't know, improperly rendered? I don't know. This could have been so much better, and it isn't. If you just take a solid background and put these as quotes with the logo of the publication, I think you'd get a lot more out of it, because I'm looking at this and I'm not reading this. I'm just looking at this and moving on. But this is the thing I was waiting for, and this is why I'm also glad we got to number 6. This is a message from the founders. I have never seen a screenshot that has a message from the founders, and I think this is super cool. Now, this also lends itself to a specific type of developer, a specific type of company, maybe more indie, maybe a little bit more where the founders are right in front of users. Hello, just like me. But if that's the kind of image you're trying to portray, this is a great way to do it. I've talked to a bunch of developers who are doing this in-app to ask for ratings, which are very useful, but I have never seen this in a screenshot. I am really curious how much this converts. So if the maker of this, if any of you are in the audience, I would love for you to drop in the chat if you tried with and without, and if that made any difference in conversion, because I think this is a really cool way to do screenshots. And this is a really cool way to also kind of ask for the download. One thing I would add to this, even though this is great, is a call to action. So you're making this plea and you say, thanks for considering our app. Don't thank them for considering the app. Ask them to download it. They're here already. They went through all the screenshots. They read all this text. They looked at funny pictures. They are interested enough. The next step is just to download it. It's not to consider it. It's to download. The consideration has been done. So that's something that I would love to see in many more screenshots. And if you actually do look at the app teardowns that I've done, there's one app teardown. I forgot. I don't remember who. I'll post it in the comments later. I'll look it up after this is done. But there's one app that actually at the end asks for the download. And I think that's a very powerful tool that you have in your screenshot arsenal. And again, very easy to A/B test. So you can put it in or you can take it out and see if that makes any difference. And I bet you it will make a ton of difference. So I think that's going to be cool. Oh, and Raylan is in the audience. So well done. This is good. I think we are kind of officially almost out of time. So I can continue. If your app is here and you see it, send me an email or drop a link to the app in the comments later, and I will do my best to get back to you with my thoughts on your screenshots. If I didn't get to your app, I would love to get to all the apps at some point. I'm going to do this again, and I will open up submissions again, and maybe I will even give priority to people who have submitted before and didn't get picked. So that's going to be really fun. So I'm going to get back to chats now. I see a bunch of chats happening, but a small reminder that if you like what you're seeing so far, give this video a like. We're on YouTube for a reason, and the more you like this, the more people see it, and the more people see it, the more I become happy, and the happier I am, the more I'm going to do this. But also more people are going to see it, and I think that's going to help many more developers. So please give it a like. It's super easy. It's right down here, somewhere over here. And let's take a look at chat. So let me switch to chats and see what's happening. So, okay, an interesting question from Joshua. Does the text on the graphic translate for people in non-English speaking countries? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by this. Obviously, I think so. Because the whole idea behind localization is that you are getting people at their native tongue. And so if you're optimizing your keywords in a local, if you're localizing your keywords, you should be localizing your screenshots as well. They ultimately serve the same purpose. So hopefully that was the answer you're looking for, and we'll continue. A question that's somewhat related. Do you have some data about the effect of translating the screenshots for non-English speaking countries? Example, Western Europe, on downloads. I'd love to know roughly what to expect. So that's a very tough question for a variety of reasons. One being it depends on the country and it depends on how many people there speak English comfortably enough. I've seen very, very, very crazy differences between Germany, for example, localizing for Germany as an American app and localizing for Poland, where Poland localization is a necessity and Germany it isn't. So it really depends on your app. I would say it's worth trying, and screenshots are a very easy way to give that a try because you don't have a lot of text and it's an image and it doesn't change as often. And so if you are thinking, should I go ahead and localize my entire app, starting with the screenshots is probably the easiest way to do it. A few thanks from Morton and Raylan. You're welcome. I hope we'll see some changes, and I hope those will have a positive impact on all of this. A question that is unrelated to this, but can you link to custom product pages using social ads? And the answer is yes. That's kind of how you would use them. The whole idea behind custom product pages, which are not A/B tests, are so you have a direct link into the App Store in a way that can direct people to a specific landing page. So not at all A/B tests, and I do have a guide on custom product pages and how they work. I'll drop a link to that later as well. And I think that's it. There are a few more things in the chat. I'll try to answer those in just right after, but I think time is up. So that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoy this. This was the first time I'm doing a screenshot teardown live. If you enjoy this, please let me know in the chat or in the comments later what you enjoy the most so I know what to do again in the future. And if you want to see it again in the future, also please drop a comment later on and let me know. This is how I know what to do for next month. I'm going to be here again in just a few weeks talking to an indie game developer who's getting into ASO, and we're going to talk about why finally getting into ASO and how that how he's approaching that. So that's going to be really cool. I'll share more details. That's coming up in a few weeks. And then a few weeks later, I'm going to do another one of these solo live streams where I'll do some sort of a teardown, maybe a screenshot teardown, maybe a keyword teardown, maybe something else. I have a whole bunch of ideas. So if you want to see me do something specific, let me know in the comments because the chat is going to close eventually. And if you have any other questions, again, drop them in the comments. I'm going to look through these comments for the next few days. Actually, I'm going to look through them forever because I'm always on YouTube, and I'm going to respond to them. So that's pretty much all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you do end up making any of the changes I suggested for your apps, please let me know how they go. I would love to know if you have any additional questions about them, like how to set up the A/B test or what you should be testing specifically. Again, comments or send me an email or find me on Twitter. I'm always around. And I'm on time for the first time, I think, in all of my live streams. So I'm going to quit while I'm ahead and say happy Thursday to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and I will see you in a few weeks.